Hello and welcome back to the British Accent Podcast. I'm Nick.
And I'm Emily. Today's episode is for anyone who's ever felt guilty about not studying enough, not practicing perfectly, or not progressing as fast as they'd hoped.
That inner voice that whispers, you should be doing more, or you're not trying hard enough. It can be exhausting. And the truth is, guilt doesn't help you learn better. It just makes you feel stuck.
Exactly. Learning a language, especially something as big as English, isn't just about discipline. It's also about emotional health. If guilt is weighing you down, it becomes harder to stay motivated or even enjoy the process.
We want to remind you today, you're doing better than you think. Even on the days when you feel like you're not doing enough, you're still growing. You're still showing up.
And sometimes, letting go of guilt is what makes space for real progress. So let's talk about why you don't need to punish yourself for going slow, missing a few days, or learning in your own unique way.
Because this journey, your English journey, isn't about perfection. It's about progress, and we're here to help you see just how far you've come.
I think one reason so many learners carry guilt is because of unrealistic expectations. Maybe they saw someone on social media who became fluent in 6 months, or maybe a teacher once made them feel behind. But the truth is, those comparisons aren't fair and they're not helpful.
Exactly. Everyone has different circumstances. Some people have more free time, or grew up exposed to English in small ways. Others are balancing full-time jobs, families, mental health, or other responsibilities. You can't compare your path to someone else's highlight reel.
And guilt often comes from this idea that if you're not perfect, you're failing. But language learning isn't linear. It's not a straight line upward. You'll have great days and slow days. Days when everything clicks, and days when you forget a simple word like apple.
We've all had that moment, searching for the most basic word and feeling silly. But it happens to native speakers too. The difference is, they don't attach guilt to it. They just move on.
That's a great point. Guilt creates pressure, and pressure can block your natural learning flow. But when you take that pressure off, even just a little, you give yourself space to learn with curiosity instead of fear.
One thing I always tell my students is, learning a language is a relationship. And just like any relationship, it needs patience, forgiveness, and kindness. You wouldn't yell at a friend for needing more time. So don't yell at yourself.
Exactly. If you miss a day of study, it doesn't erase all the effort you've put in. If you forget a word, it doesn't mean you're not improving. Progress is still happening, quietly, steadily, beneath the surface.
And sometimes we just need someone to remind us of that. You might not see it yet, but the very fact that you're listening to this podcast, that you care about your English, that you're trying, that's already proof that you're doing better than you think.
And if we look deeper, guilt often comes from the belief that we're somehow falling short. But what if you shifted that perspective? Instead of thinking, I'm not doing enough, what if you asked, what do I need today to keep going?
That shift is powerful. Because it moves you away from self-punishment and toward self-support. It makes space for questions like, am I tired? Or, do I need rest? Or even, can I try something different that feels fun today instead of hard?
Exactly. Maybe today isn't the day for studying grammar rules. Maybe it's the day to watch a comforting show in English with subtitles. Or to listen to music and just absorb the rhythm of the language.
And let's not forget, mental health plays a huge role in language learning. If you're dealing with stress, anxiety, or burnout, it's okay to take smaller steps. Slowing down isn't quitting. It's respecting your capacity.
Yes. And we need to normalize that. Sometimes people feel guilty just for needing a break. But taking care of yourself is part of the learning process too. It makes you more resilient, more steady.
And honestly, the learners who show the most consistent progress over time aren't the ones who push themselves to the edge. They are the ones who make space for rest, joy, and patience. They are the ones who learn to be kind to themselves.
That kindness shows up in their learning. You can actually hear it in their voice when they speak English, with more calm, more confidence, and more presence.
That's the real magic. When guilt softens, learning flows. And that's when your English starts to feel less like a burden, and more like something that belongs to you.
Let's take a moment to talk directly to you, the listener. Think about the last few months. How many times did you try? Even if you didn't finish that lesson, even if you felt distracted or tired, you still showed up. That matters.
Yes, and even listening to this podcast right now is proof that you care. You haven't given up. You're still reaching for something, still growing, even if it's in small ways that no one else sees.
We often underestimate the power of quiet effort. Things like thinking in English during a walk, repeating a phrase under your breath, or pausing a show to replay a line. Those don't look like big achievements, but they're building your fluency.
And I think we should normalize progress that happens in the background. Like when you hear a word you learned weeks ago and suddenly understand it without thinking. Or when you realize you've gone a whole conversation without mentally translating.
Those are big wins. But because they happen gradually, they don't always get celebrated. Instead, we focus on what we haven't done yet, and that's where guilt creeps in.
So here's something to try this week. Instead of asking, "What did I miss?" ask, "What did I manage?" Shift the spotlight to what went right, no matter how small.
Maybe you read a short paragraph. Maybe you said hello to someone in English. Or maybe you just gave yourself a break when you felt overwhelmed. All of that counts. It's part of the journey.
And every learner's journey will look different. There's no one-size-fits-all when it comes to language. You're allowed to take your time. You're allowed to learn your way.
Most importantly, you're allowed to feel proud of yourself, even if your progress is invisible to others. Because this is your story, and you're doing better than you think.
Let's bring in a moment of honesty. We've both worked with so many learners over the years, and do you know what almost all of them have in common? They underestimate themselves. Almost every single one.
It's so true. They'll say, "My English is terrible," right after expressing a deep thought beautifully. Or they'll apologize constantly for making a small grammar mistake, while clearly communicating their message with heart and clarity.
The gap between how well they are doing and how they feel they are doing, that's where guilt often lives. And our job, really, is to help them close that gap. To help them see their growth.
Exactly. And we're saying this now to you, our listener. If you've been telling yourself that you're not good enough, not doing enough, not progressing fast enough, try to pause and ask yourself, according to whom?
Because so often, those expectations we carry aren't even ours. They come from school systems, from toxic productivity culture, from unrealistic standards we see online. And they don't reflect the real, human, emotional journey of learning a language.
Real learning is messy. It includes mistakes, pauses, detours, even times when you need to stop and take care of your mental health. None of that means you've failed. In fact, it means you're learning in a full, human way.
You know, I remember one student of mine who felt so guilty about missing 2 weeks of practice because she had family issues. When she came back, she said, "I've probably lost everything." But within minutes, she was speaking confidently again.
Yes. The truth is, language doesn't just disappear. It lives in you. And the fact that she came back at all, that she still cared, that's strength. That's resilience. That's learning.
So if you've had to pause, take a break, or slow down, let go of the guilt. You didn't stop learning. You simply listened to your life, and now you're continuing. That's not failure. That's courage.
And you deserve to feel proud of that. Even if no one else sees it, even if you're only moving an inch at a time, it's still forward. It's still yours.
So wherever you are right now, in your English journey, in your life, we just want to remind you, guilt doesn't make you grow faster. Kindness does. Patience does. Consistency, even in small doses, does.
And even if you're moving slowly, even if you're not where you thought you'd be by now, you're still moving. You're still learning. And that deserves your respect, not your shame.
Let today be a small turning point. One where you stop asking, why am I not there yet, and start whispering, look how far I've come.
You don't have to be perfect. You just have to keep going, with gentleness, with courage, and with a little less guilt.
This is the British Accent Podcast. Thank you so much for spending this time with us.
And remember, you're doing better than you think. We believe in you.
Until next time, take care of yourself.